I'm 34, male. Grew up in a working-class family, worked 2 jobs through college, and busted my ass to buy my own house at 28. No handouts, no help, just sweat, stress, and sacrifice. And then my in-laws decided they were entitled to it. It started when I got into a car accident. Some guy ran a red light and smashed into me. I ended up in the hospital with a couple of broken ribs and a concussion. Sucked, but I figured I'd be back home in a few days. My wife barely visited. Said she was busy handling things at home. Yeah, handling things, all right. When I finally got discharged, I called my buddy to pick me up. My car was totaled, my head was still foggy, but all I wanted was to go home, shower, and sleep in my own bed. Except when we pulled up to my house, I saw something that made my stomach drop. My stuff was outside. Furniture stacked near the curb. Boxes with my things shoved against the garage. And inside, my in-laws. My mother-in-law was on my couch, flipping through TV channels. My father-in-law sat at my dining table, drinking my whiskey. My brother-in-law, the useless leech that he was, had his feet up on my coffee table. And my wife? She was just standing there, watching, saying nothing. I felt my pulse pounding in my ears. What the hell is this? My mother-in-law looked up, completely unbothered. Oh, honey, welcome home. You took so long in the hospital, we figured we'd go ahead and move in. This house is too big for just you anyway. I turned to my wife. Tell me this is a joke. She didn't answer. Wouldn't even look at me. My father-in-law smirked. We're doing you a favor, kid. You're always working, barely here. We'll take care of the place. It's better this way. Better. This way. They had moved in while I was in the hospital. Throw my things out like I was some squatter. And my wife had let them. I should have screamed, thrown them out on the spot. But I didn't. Instead, I pulled out my phone and made one call. Hey, it's me. I need you to come by. Now. Then I walked past them, straight to my bedroom. Or at least what used to be my bedroom. They had taken it. My in-laws had moved into my room, thrown my clothes into trash bags, and replaced my furniture with theirs. My mother-in-law leaned against the doorframe, sipping a glass of my wine. You're overreacting, sweetheart. Family shares, you know? We thought you'd be happy. Happy. I clenched my jaw so hard it hurt. I didn't say another word. I just waited, and 24 hours later, they were all standing on the sidewalk with their bags. See, what they didn't know, what my wife had conveniently forgotten, was that the house was in my name. Only mine. I bought it before we got married, never added her to the deed. So legally, they weren't just unwelcome guests. They were trespassers. The next morning, my buddy, who happens to be a cop, showed up with some of his colleagues. Officially, he wasn't handling my case, but he made sure the responding officers knew exactly what was going on. The knock on the door was loud, firm. My father-in-law opened it, looking annoyed. That changed real quick when he saw the badges. What's this about? He demanded. One of the officers stepped forward. Sir, the homeowner has reported unlawful occupation of this property. You need to vacate immediately. My mother-in-law appeared behind him, eyes narrowing. Excuse me? This is our daughter's house. The officer turned to me. I handed over my deed, my documents. This house is mine. Just mine. The officer turned back to them. You have no legal right to be here. If you don't leave willingly, you'll be removed. The tantrum that followed was unreal. My mother-in-law shrieked about how she was practically homeless and how I was tearing apart the family. My father-in-law tried to argue, but that fell apart when the officers told them they had 10 minutes to grab their things or get arrested for trespassing. And my wife? She just stood there, silent like a deer in headlights. They stalled, complained, tried to call my bluff. That's when I dropped the final bomb. I turned to my wife, voice calm, even, I'm filing for divorce. Your things will be packed and waiting for you at a storage unit. You can go with them. Her mouth opened, closed. She looked at her parents, then back at me. You can't be serious. I stared at her. You let them do this. You chose them over me. We're done. She tried to argue, but the officers had already started ushering her family out. Her brother, the little parasite, threw a fit about how he had nowhere to go. Not my problem. My mother-in-law spat venom at me the whole way to the sidewalk, swearing I'd regret this and rot alone. I just watched, silent, unmoving, and when the door finally shut behind them, I locked it. But I wasn't done. See, my in-laws weren't just entitled. They were stupid. I pulled up my wife's messages and emails. Turns out, she and her mother had been planning this for months. The accident was just an opportunity. They had conversations about how they'd get me to put her on the deed, how they'd slowly push me into handing over their fair share. Disgusting. I forwarded everything to my lawyer. Every incriminating text, every email, every financial document I could find. And then I made another call. Yeah, it's me. We're moving forward with a divorce. And while we're at it, let's make sure she gets nothing. Because here's the thing. My wife had never worked a full-time job. She lived comfortably off my income, never contributed to the mortgage, and had been quietly siphoning money into a separate account with her mother's help. Unfortunately for her, I had receipts. And in my state, a spouse who commits financial fraud during a marriage doesn't get to cry about alimony. I filed immediately. Served her the papers 2 days later. She showed up at my door, all fake tears and shaky hands. I made a mistake, she sniffled. I was just trying to help my parents. I laughed. You watched them move into my house while I was in a hospital bed. You threw away my things. That's not a mistake. That's a choice. She tried to argue, but I shut the door in her face. Her parents, predictably, tried to retaliate. They posted sob stories online, called my job, even tried to break back into my house. Security cameras caught them, and they got slapped with trespassing charges. I didn't engage, just let them self-destruct. The divorce? Finalized in record time. She got nothing. No house, no money, no alimony. Just a tarnished reputation and a family of leeches who couldn't support themselves without her draining me dry. I heard later that she moved in with her parents in some rundown apartment. Her brother ended up getting arrested for fraud. Her parents burned through what little savings they had left. And me? I changed the locks, got new furniture, took a deep breath in my now empty house. Peace. And damn, did it feel good. Moral of the story? Some people will take everything if you let them. Don't. Oh, and if you like this, subscribe, because you never know when I'll have another wild one to share.